Today we're going to talk about how you come up with good story ideas even when you have nothing. It's possible, and here is how you do it. First, if you want to get a story idea, you need to choose a genre to start. A genre tells the audience what to expect in a story, so I wouldn't count fantasy or sci-fi as genres but more of as settings, while romance and mystery are genres since the audience knows what to expect from the story. If you don't know what genre to choose, then look at what stories you enjoy and what genres they are from. Like, for instance, if you enjoy watching like crime or mysteries or romance, then try writing it. Just don't try to copy-paste stories, which, I will get to that later in this video, but keep that in mind. So after you picked out your genre, you want to find your major theme of your story. You find the major theme of your story by basically asking yourself, like, what change would you like to see in the world? Or what do you wish everyone knew? Or what do you wish you could tell everyone? Stuff like that. After all, the reason for writing a story in the first place is to hopefully change people's lives, even if it's just a single person. Now it's time to meet the protagonists of your story, the characters. You might even know a whole lot about your main characters, but the one thing that you absolutely must know about your character is what lie do they believe about themselves or about the world. I actually made an entire video about writing characters, so I recommend watching that video after this video. But basically in that video, I said that your characters are the most important part of the story, and characters are usually the reason why readers read books or people watch movies. It's because of the characters. So you want your audience to get invested in your characters. So if you basically give them this lie that they have to grow out of by the end of the story, that gives them a character arc. Now, you need to basically choose a setting for your world, for your story. And your setting can be fantasy or sci-fi or contemporary, which is basically slice of life. Now let's talk about something a little bit controversial. Can you steal or even take inspiration from other writers? Well, kind of. Let me explain. People tend to think that inspired stories are not original stories, but that's far from the truth actually. Because every single story, whether you thought it was original or not, is inspired by a collection of other stories. So you can't really write a story without any inspiration at all. Even if you never read any books or watched any movies or TV shows, there's still your life that you can take inspiration from, and other things like history and art. But how do you actually write an original story without copy-pasting it? Well, first you should write a list of your top 5 favorite stories or top 10 favorite stories, or however long you want it to be. But I suggest at the very least 4 TV shows or movies or books or even mini movies, just stories that you absolutely love. I have a long list of mine. After you write down this list, you need to basically write down 4 story elements, which the story elements are theme, characters, plot, and the setting. And then basically you'll put this movie that you really like into this story element, let's say characters, and then you can take inspiration from that said movie about the characters. And you keep doing this until you have one basically story for each of the 4 story elements. So that's why I said you need at least 4. But lastly, you are not just retelling a story, retelling a movie but in a different setting. You're writing your own story, not someone else's. Your story can be inspired, but in the end, it's your story, so make it your own.